This is a camera. It is a device that is used for recording an image or a series of images in a continuous sequence. In other words, a device used for taking photos and videos. The functionality itself is pretty commonplace, thanks to the advent of smartphones that include it as a standard feature, alongside the oh-so-helpful flashlight. But there is far more to the scope of cameras than with just a smartphone. For starters, let me introduce you all to the SLR, or Single Lens Reflex Camera. These are cameras that are defined by their ability to use interchangeable lenses that can offer a variety of viewpoints. Which means that if you have an SLR camera with no lens on it, it can see nothing more than a white light. That is because the process of capturing images with SLR cameras involves the lens taking the light and focusing it in such a way so that the camera can understand it. DSLR, digital single lens reflex, cameras, for example, have the light reflecting off of a mirror and into a pentaprism mirror that bounces around the edges and out of the viewfinder, which is your main tool to see what you are recording. When recording, the mirror will flip out of the way and allow the image sensor to see what you are seeing, so that it may be captured exactly how it was found on the viewfinder. Well, maybe not exactly, as some sources such as Adobe say that a disadvantage of DSLR cameras, when compared to mirrorless cameras, is that what shows up in a viewfinder may not be 100% accurate to what is shown in real life due to using their mirrors to do some of the focusing. Though with that said, digital cameras certainly have been improving at a rapid rate over the years, but that is to be expected of any technology, especially the kind that is heavily utilized. Regardless of whether you are using the mirrored or mirrorless variety of cameras, they would still be single lens reflex cameras that utilize their iconic interchangeable lenses. Unless, of course, you happen to be using the twin lens reflex cameras, in which one lens would be the preview while the other lens would be doing the actual recording, which in turn resulted in images that were somewhat off from what they originally were seen as. But regardless of the amount of lenses being used, a lens needs to be in front of the sensor, or all you will see is a white light and not much in the way of interchangeable footage. The reason for that is because the camera sensor itself can only take in focused light. Focused light that is handled by the sensor of an SLR lens. That might sound strange to those unfamiliar, as many of us might be used to our smartphones that don't use any interchangeable lenses, but SLR cameras and even analog film cameras have been used for years as the cameras of choice for things such as films and TV shows. Though if you're curious as to why analog film has been replaced by digital filming, it would boil down to cost and convenience. You see, analog filming would use the material called film, not to be confused with its interchangeable usage with movie, as a material that would have the images printed on said material. But unlike digital, it wasn't an immediate process, as the film would have to go through a specific process in a dark room in order to have the footage in a usable state. What's more is that film costs money, which means that the more that is used, the more money is spent. With digital, you can record as much footage as you want at no extra cost. Well, technically yes, But said digital footage has to be stored on digital storage devices such as SD cards, compact flash cards, and even solid-state drives. For these are the devices that the camera will write to and store said digital footage to be used for later, where it will let you know how much space you have left before you have to transfer that footage elsewhere. Your computer, for example, is one such device that you can transfer your footage to, where the most likely scenario would be to put your video footage in a video editor and cut up and rearrange the footage, later exporting it with you having a record of presenting it in a different manner. And yes, analog film would be physically spliced up back then as a primitive form of editing. Though of course there did come a point when the analog film would be given digital transfers so that they could be used with digital editing software.